Carolyn Gray, host of the Looking and Feeling Your Best at Any Age channel on YouTube. Just stopping by with what I hope is a really quick video. And I still have the camera and equipment set up in my bathroom because just a few days ago, or maybe it was even yesterday, that I did a video after shampooing my hair and just prolonging the inevitability of doing a home pregnancy test when I missed my period by more days than I ever have in over 30 years, except for the 2 times that I've been pregnant. So praise the Lord, it was negative. I'm not pregnant, but like I said, everything was still set up from yesterday, so I said I may as well do another video in this setting before I move back, to some other more convenient place in my house. But I thought about what could I tell you guys that I haven't already said about the quest to look and feel your best at any age. As most of you already know, and I've said it at nauseum, so I apologize, but I am 51. I'll be 52 in February of 2018. I can't believe it, but there are so many components that go into looking and feeling your best at any age, which is why when you go to my website, which is at www.yourbestataanyage.com, you'll see that I have a collage of pictures that go through so many different areas that deals with, not just, exercise and diet, as well as, emotional and spiritual type components. But there are just so many things that I could tell you. So when people ask me, what's my secret? There is no secret. It's just a number of different things, which is why I'm all over the place. Like you could say it's clothes, you could say it's your skincare regimen, and I have videos that address, what I do in terms of eating, in terms of, how I take care of my face in the morning and in the evening, if you want to check those out. And I'll do a better job getting the playlist organized on my channel, but I haven't done that so far, so I'm hoping to work on that pretty soon. But that'll help you to find those videos in case you are wondering. But this particular video has to do with life management, I guess, so that the stress of it all, especially if you have kids, you're married, you work full time, a lot of times the stress of everything could drive you totally bonkers, have you having heart palpitations like I had back at, around 35, because I was, almost getting ready to make senior manager at a telecom firm. My kids were little. My youngest son didn't like the preschool that he was in because it was private, and they were just pushing him harder than he really wanted to be pushed. His brother loved it, but he didn't love it. It was just like crazy. My weight started to creep. So life can sometimes get too crazy. One thing I want to say is you can't be afraid to make changes in your life, because you are the person that orchestrates how things go. Like, you can decide what job you stay at, whether you stay at a job for 2 years or 20 years. I mean, if you don't like where you are, there's no harm in you're looking to find another job and not being scared to make a move. If you're being disrespected, overworked, I was being overworked at that job, and I decided to take a severance package. And praise the Lord, it worked out well for me. But I could have just stayed there and allowed the heart palpitations to continue, to live the continuously crazy lifestyle that we were living. Like, the doctor asked me, he said, tell me about your typical day. I was like, well, I stay up until like 2 in the morning, on my laptop working, checking emails to make sure that the mails don't get over 100 and I'm not overwhelmed, because I was in an IT development shop where we were producing releases, every few months, and my team produced the low-level design documents, the things that you hand off to the development team. And so it was just really, really high pressure. I'm trying to earn bonuses. We're living in a huge house, with a huge lot that we really didn't need at that time. We're house poor, private school for the kids and stuff. It was just really, really crazy. And at one point I looked at my husband and I said, if this house ties me to this job, then I no longer want this house. And surprisingly, we got on the same page. We sold that house. We moved back to a rental property that we had, kicked out the tenant. It was in a neighborhood where there was a pool. The kids and I would go to the pool. It just so happened that, the company was hurting and they were looking for people to lay off. They hadn't picked me, but it took a lot of courage and the willingness to change your life enough to downsize in order to, make that change and to make it work. All of a sudden, I lost the weight, haven't had heart palpitations since, was able to put the kids in a nice public school that worked well for them. The youngest son started thriving, was very happy. During that time that I took off, I was able to teach him to read, myself at 4 instead of him, learning how to read at the hands of some other teacher. And so it was just a radical change. I lost the weight that I wanted to lose. My husband and I, became closer. He stopped calling the laptop my boyfriend, because I was on it so much. You don't realize how out of balance and crazy your life gets until you make a change. So that's one thing I could say. If you don't like your life right now, don't be afraid to make a change. Do all the homework, all the legwork. I did ask them first. I said, if I volunteer for a layoff, how much would you give me? And then, make the plan of, can we sell our house? And I told my husband, if we sold it for anything with a certain number in front of it, I'd like to do it. Praise the Lord, he agreed to do that. A lot of husbands would say, what, are you crazy? But it just wasn't the quality of life that I wanted. And so I was prepared to walk away from the big, beautiful house that the girl who grew up in the projects of Augusta Homes, was so proud, to show people, to be willing to give that up and to move back to the 3-level townhouse that I lived in when we first got married. So don't be afraid of what the world is thinking, of how it might look like, you're taking a step back, but you got to do what's best for you and your family and what won't make you pull your hair out. So that's one thing. Don't be afraid to change. And to my detriment and to my good, I have not been afraid to change jobs in the past. There are plenty of jobs out there, but you do have to do legwork, and sometimes you have to be prepared to live with the consequences, as I'm doing at 51, because I kind of wrecked my IT career with doing that way too much, but it worked out well for my family life and my overall quality of life. So, but maybe not so much for the IT thing, but so if you're going to do that, do it strategically, talk to mentors, make sure that you do what's best for you, not just the short term and the long term, but don't be afraid to change your life, because it was life-changingly wonderful for me and for my kids. And then secondly, as you're raising kids and you're involved with things like, at work, people want you to volunteer for stuff. People will want you to, like when I worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers, they wanted me to go to networking events, like at bars, and I'm like, well, I don't drink, I don't want to go. At night, I want to go home. So I committed what they called CLMs. I didn't go to the networking events because I wanted to go home, and they already had me volunteering for other things. So I took that power at that point to say, no, I'm not going to go to the networking events. And so I continued to use that same power when, like say I might have been at schools with my sons, where some people were saying, well, you really should work this concession, or you really, should volunteer for this, or you really should volunteer for that. I mean, up to a point, I could do that, but I couldn't do all of that and be in the PTA and go to this meeting and help with this field trip or whatever. So I picked what worked well for me. Sure, I would do the field trips. Sure, I would go in and help, read to the class, help, edit their papers, when they were like in 4th grade and stuff, and help them to learn how to correct their mistakes. Sure, I went to all the basketball practices and soccer practice. I went to all the games. I did all of that. But like the PTA, I donated money. They said you can be a member, you can donate money, you don't have to come. I was like, glory be to God, because I don't want to come every night. I wanted to come home, make dinner for my kids, look over their schoolwork, and actually spend some time with the people that I worked so hard for, from 9 to 5 during the week. So, there was one woman who actually was confrontational and said, I thought you were a good mother. You're not fulfilling your freshman mother obligation, by working the concession on a regular basis. I was like, I really don't want to work the concession. I want to be home and feed my kids, and because they wanted you to work on nights when your kids weren't playing. And so by the time I leave work drive in the DC metropolitan area, rush hour traffic, get home, make dinner, look at homework. No, I don't want to go do concessions. And it actually made me angry because one, I'm like, concessions aren't my idea anyway. I mean, I feed my kids before they come. I could put some crackers in my purse and a bottle of water and just be done with that. You know, you guys are overly zealous, and I think it's wonderful that that's your thing, but it's not my thing. So I had to like do a timeout, and I told the coach, I said, you know, you don't want to see me like going crazy. And I was making a joke, probably a bad joke, about, you don't want me to be that woman driving, you know, their vehicle down the wrong side of the road with vodka in the back, you know, vodka bottles in the back, you know, where I've gone crazy because I'm just so overwhelmed and overextended. I said, I can't do all of those concessions. I'll try to do some, but I can't do all. You know, call the mothers off of me. Leave me alone. I'll do what I can. And then they want you to volunteer for different events. Like, it's not enough that your kids are playing in like Christmas tournaments, but they want you to do work, you know, for concessions for that too. It was just too much. So I said time out. So I learned to say no. I can't do this, but I can do that. And so that has made my life so much easier. And I think, like, if you just never say no to anybody and let the people at work pile on stuff, let the people at church pile on stuff, let the people, you know, and organizations that you're a part of pile on stuff, you know, you'll never have any time for yourself. And believe it or not, there were some parents that I saw that were just doing just everything under the sun, and they'd be at the practices and they're sitting there and they're watching their kids. You know, I was thinking you could use that time to walk around the track. You know, maybe if you weren't involved in every event that was going on, maybe you'd have some time to exercise, and maybe you wouldn't be having some of the physical ailments that you're having. So the ability to change your life when you need to, take a time out, take a breather when you need to, as well as the ability to say no. Don't let your life get too big where you can't handle it. You're no good to anybody else if you're not healthy, if you're broken down, if you're stressed out. So many people are having problems with their blood pressure, with their thyroids, because, you know, already if you have a hectic work life, you need to just come clean and be honest. I can't do all of this. Because I don't know where you live, but where I live, parents needed to be heavily involved with what their kids were doing between Blackboard and Canvas, and, you know, and looking to see and just making sure, you know, that milestones were being met, and, you know, going to like events if your kids are in the band and they're playing soccer and they're playing basketball. And then that's another thing. I only let my kids play one sport a season. There's some people that I see whose kids play 2 sports a season, or they're in multiple activities. I just don't know how the families are sustaining that quality of life. I think it contributes, you know, to marital, you know, stress, which is why some people wind up having divorces. It leads to you not being able to exercise and take care of yourself. Maybe the kids just need to come home, have just a moment to decompress, to play. They don't have to be, you know, engaged in something every minute of the day. So I think that more mothers and wives, or just women in general, need to kind of take a moment to look out for number one, say no when you need to say no, change your life when you need to change your life, break up with somebody when you need to break up with somebody. If you're not being treated with the respect that you deserve, you need to be able to walk away. There are other men out there. No one is the only show in town. You really, really have to value yourself enough to walk away from things, to say no to things, to make changes when you need to. And for the people who ask me, well, how is it you're looking, you know, younger than your 51 years? Some of it is the stuff that I've said on the website, but this is another component of it. You really, really have to look out for yourself, because at the end of the day, nobody is going to do that for you. And my kids never suffered from, you know, being in just one sport a season. They never suffered from it. And, you know, they didn't suffer from being in every event or activity that they needed to be in. I did the absolute best that I could do. And that's what I told my children. At the end of the day, you know, if you come to me and say, well, you know, my life didn't work out because of blah, blah, blah. And I say, look, buddy, we've done the absolute best that we can do for you. And that's all that you can do. But you still got to do the best for yourself, because you only get one you. And what I told my sister-in-law, who feels compelled to do just the most at every level. I told her, I said, if something happens to you, and I told a good friend this, who after having a mini stroke, she went to volunteer at an event for the school, and she went to an event at church, and I said, you just had a mini stroke. I'm sure your doctor didn't want you racing to the school right after you left the emergency room. I said, if something happens to you, if you were to, to die or to be incapacitated, they would find someone to replace you like that. So you really have to, just be your number one, your own advocate. So I'm sorry I talked so long, but I really feel strongly about this. It's very important. Women tend to put themselves at the back end of the priority list or the priority train, much to their harm and detriment. So I'm hoping that you won't do that, and I think that it'll go a long way towards you and me looking and feeling our best at any age. Hopefully that helps someone out there. Would love to hear your feedback. Would love to have you subscribe to my channel, to like the videos, or also to visit my website, like I said, which is at www.yourbestataanyage.com. Until then, have a good one. Take care. Bye.